How do you defeat a child who hasn't even opened his eyes? How do you stop someone whose future has already been written by Allah? The ruler of Egypt believed he had the answer. He commanded his soldiers to search every home. Every newborn boy was to be taken. Every cry of a mother was ignored. Every act of mercy was forbidden to him. It was the perfect plan. Eliminate the child before the child could become a threat. But there is one truth. Every tyrant eventually learns. You can challenge people. You can command armies. You can even spread fear across an entire nation. But you can never overpower the decree of Allah. Because while a king was searching for one little boy, Allah was already protecting him. Not inside a fortress, not behind an army, but inside a simple basket, floating along the Nile. A river that would carry him straight into the heart of the very kingdom that wanted him dead. The king believed he was hunting his greatest enemy. He never imagined he would one day raise him. This is the remarkable story of Prophet Musa, the prophet who spoke to Allah, faced the greatest tyrant of his age, and proved that when Allah chooses someone for a purpose, no force on earth can stand in the way. Egypt stood at the height of its power. Its cities were magnificent. Its monuments stretched toward the sky. Its armies were feared. Its king believed his throne would last forever. But beneath that greatness, an entire people lived in chains. The children of Israel, descendants of Prophet Yaqub. They were forced into hard labor. Their freedom had long been taken away. Generation after generation, they served Pharaoh's kingdom, not as honored citizens, but as slaves. Then fear entered Pharaoh's heart. Whether through a dream or the warnings of his advisors, he became convinced that a boy from the children of Israel would one day destroy his rule. Instead of changing his ways, he chose violence. A decree spread throughout Egypt. Every newborn Israelite boy was to be killed. Soldiers marched through neighborhoods. Homes became places of terror. Every birth was followed by fear. Every knock at the door could become a family's greatest nightmare. But while Pharaoh believed he controlled life and death, Allah's promise was already unfolding. Among those living in fear was a righteous woman, the mother of Musa. When her son was born, she hid him as long as she could. But with every passing day, the danger grew. Then Allah inspired her with words that no mother could have imagined. Nurse him, but when you fear for him, cast him into the river, and do not fear nor grieve. Indeed, we will return him to you and make him one of the messengers. Think about that moment. Everything a mother's heart tells her is to hold her child tighter, to protect him, never to let him go. Yet Allah asked her to place her trust above her fear. She gently placed baby Musa inside a carefully prepared basket. She kissed him one last time. Then, with tears in her eyes, she set the basket upon the waters of the Nile. The current slowly carried it away. Every second it drifted farther from her sight. To anyone watching, it would have looked like a desperate goodbye. But this wasn't a story of a mother losing her child. It was a story of Allah guiding every wave. The basket floated peacefully, past villages, past fishermen, past the watchful eyes of soldiers. Not one person could stop the journey Allah had written, until finally the river carried it to the gardens of Pharaoh's own palace. Servants rushed toward the basket, curious about what it contained. When they opened it, they found a beautiful infant. Word quickly reached the palace. The baby was brought before Pharaoh, but before he could decide the child's fate, someone else spoke. His wife, Asiya, a woman whose faith would one day earn her a place among the greatest women in history. Looking at the child, she said, "He will be a comfort to my eyes and yours. Do not kill him. Perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son." Pharaoh agreed, without realizing he had just welcomed into his own home the very child he had been trying to destroy. But Allah's mercy had only begun to unfold, because inside the palace, the infant refused. Every woman brought to nurse him, no matter who they found. Musa would not drink. Panic spread. How could they keep the child alive? Watching from a distance was Musa's sister. She stepped forward and quietly said, "Shall I show you a family who can care for him and look after him sincerely?" The palace agreed, and so, without anyone realizing, the baby was returned to the arms of his own mother. She had trusted Allah when everything seemed impossible, and Allah fulfilled exactly what He had promised. The child who floated away returned home, not as a fugitive, but under the protection of the palace itself. Pharaoh believed he had saved an abandoned child. In reality, Allah had begun preparing the man who would one day stand before him without fear. Years passed. The helpless infant who had once floated along the Nile grew into a man, strong in body, noble in character, respected by those around him. Though he had been raised inside Pharaoh's palace, Musa never forgot who he truly was. He knew that he belonged to the children of Israel. He witnessed their suffering, their humiliation, their endless labor, and deep within his heart, he could never accept one day, as the streets of Egypt grew quiet, Musa entered the city unnoticed. There he saw two men fighting. One was from the children of Israel, the other was an Egyptian. The Israelite recognized Musa and desperately cried out for help. Without hesitation, Musa stepped forward. He struck the Egyptian, only intending to stop the fight, but the blow was far stronger than he expected. The man collapsed motionless. Silence filled the street. Musa stared in disbelief. He had never intended to take a life, his heart filled with regret. Immediately he turned to Allah and said, "My Lord, indeed I have wronged myself, so forgive me." And Allah, in His infinite mercy, forgave him. Because prophets never persist in sin, they turn back to Allah the moment they realized their mistake. Standing there, Musa made a promise, "My Lord, because you have favored me, I will never again support the wrongdoers." But the story was far from over. The next morning, as Musa walked through the city, the same Israelite was fighting again once more. He called for Musa's help. Musa moved toward him, but before he could intervene, the Israelite suddenly shouted, "Do you intend to kill me as you killed a man yesterday?" The words echoed through the street. The secret was no longer a secret. News spread quickly. Before long, the palace knew. Pharaoh's advisors demanded justice. The man raised as a prince had become a wanted man. Then from the far side of the city, a man came running out of breath. He reached Musa and urgently warned him, "O Musa, the chiefs are plotting to kill you. Leave the city immediately. I am giving you sincere advice. No time to say goodbye." The palace that had been his home was no longer safe. For the second time in his life, Musa was forced to leave everything behind. But this time, there was no basket, no river, only a lonely road stretching into the desert. He left Egypt with nothing, no army, no wealth, no destination, only faith. As he crossed the burning wilderness, he raised a heartfelt dua, "My Lord, save me from the wrongdoing people." Days passed. The journey became harder. His food ran out. His strength faded. Yet he kept walking, because sometimes Allah removes us from the place we love to take us to the place where we are meant to become, who we were always destined to be at last. On the horizon, Musa had no idea that the next people he would meet would completely change the course of his life. Exhausted, hungry, and alone, Musa finally arrived. In the land of Madian, near the outskirts of the city, he found a well. Crowds of shepherds had gathered there, watering their flocks, but standing apart from everyone else were two young women. They weren't pushing through the crowd. They weren't arguing for their turn. Instead, they waited quietly, holding back their sheep. Musa approached them and asked, "Why are you standing here?" They replied, "We cannot water our flock until the shepherds have finished, and our father is an old man." Without expecting anything in return, Musa stepped forward. He moved through the crowd, drew water from the well, and watered their flock for them. Then, without introducing himself, without asking for a reward, he walked away, seeking the shade of a nearby tree. He sat down, completely exhausted. With nothing left, he turned to Allah and whispered a heartfelt dua, "My Lord, indeed I am in desperate need of whatever good you send down to me." He asked for nothing specific, no wealth, no home, no food, only whatever Allah knew was best for him. Sometimes the most beautiful du'as are the ones made by hearts that have surrendered completely to their Lord. Not long afterward, one of the two women returned. Walking modestly, she said, "My father invites you so that he may reward you for helping us." Musa accepted the invitation. When he arrived, he met their father. Many scholars identify him as the prophet Shu'aib. Musa told him everything: his life in Egypt, his mistake, his escape, his fears. The elderly prophet listened patiently. Then he comforted him with words that must have brought peace to Musa's heart. "Do not be afraid. You have escaped from the wrongdoing people." For the first time since leaving Egypt, Musa felt safe. The old prophet soon recognized the character of the young man before him: strength, honesty, humility. His daughter even said, "Oh, my father, hire him indeed. The best person you can hire is the one who is strong and trustworthy." Soon afterward, the prophet offered Musa one of his daughters in marriage on the condition that Musa would work for him. For several years, Musa gladly accepted the lonely fugitive who had arrived with nothing, now had a family, a home, and a new beginning. Years passed. Far away from palaces and political power, Musa became a shepherd. Day after day, he cared for his flock, living a quiet life in the open valleys of Madian. To many, it may have seemed like an ordinary life, but Allah was preparing his messenger, because before someone can lead a nation, they must first learn patience, responsibility, compassion, and trust. The years of shepherding were not a delay. They were training designed by Allah himself. Then, after fulfilling his agreement, Musa decided it was finally time to return home. Together with his family, he began the long journey back toward Egypt. He had no idea that before reaching the city, his entire life was about to change forever. On a cold night, near Mount Tur, he noticed something in the distance, a fire, or so he thought. He turned to his family and said, "Stay here, I have seen a fire. Perhaps I can bring you news or a burning branch so that you may warm yourselves." Musa walked toward the light, believing he was searching for warmth. Instead, he was about to receive the greatest honor ever given to a human being. He was about to hear the voice of Allah. The light burned in the distance. Musa left his family behind and slowly climbed toward Mount Tur. The night was silent. The air was cold. Every step brought him closer to what he believed was an ordinary fire. But this was no ordinary fire. As Musa approached, he heard a voice unlike any other, calling him by name. "Oh, Musa." In that instant, everything changed. The creator of the heavens and the earth spoke directly to one of his servants. Imagine that moment. The one who created every mountain, every river, every star in the sky was speaking directly to Musa. No human being could ever receive a greater honor. Then Allah gave Musa the first of many miracles. He asked, "What is that in your right hand, O Musa?" Musa replied, "It is my staff. I lean upon it. Bring down leaves for my sheep, and I have other uses for it." Allah then commanded, "Throw it down, O Musa." The wooden staff fell to the ground, and before Musa's eyes, it transformed into a living serpent, moving swiftly across the earth. Startled, Musa turned to flee. Then Allah reassured him, "Do not fear, pick it up, and we will return it to its former state." Musa obeyed. The serpent became a staff once again. Then Allah said, "Place your hand under your arm." He did. When he brought it out, it shone with a brilliant white light, not from disease, not from magic, but as another miracle granted by Allah. These signs were not given to amaze people. They were given to confront the greatest tyrant on earth. Then came the command that would define Musa's life forever. "Go to Pharaoh indeed. He has transgressed all bounds. Return to Egypt. Return to the palace. Return to the man who had once raised him and now claimed to be a god." Anyone else might have hesitated, not because they doubted Allah, but because they remembered who Pharaoh was. Musa was honest with his Lord. He said, "My Lord, expand for me my chest. Ease my task for me. Untie the knot from my tongue, so they may understand my speech, and appoint for me a helper from my family, Harun, my brother." What a beautiful lesson. Even a prophet did not rely on his own strength. He asked Allah for courage, for clarity, for support, and Allah answered. Harun would stand beside him together. They would carry the message of Tawheed into the heart of the most powerful empire the world had ever known. Musa left Mount Tur, no longer a shepherd, no longer a fugitive. He walked back toward Egypt as the messenger of Allah, carrying nothing but a wooden staff and complete trust in his Lord. Ahead of him waited a throne, a king, an empire, and a confrontation that history would never forget. Looking back, it's almost impossible to believe how Allah prepared Musa for the mission ahead. As an infant, he was protected when no one else could protect him. As a young man, he learned humility through hardship. As a fugitive, he discovered patience. As a shepherd, he learned leadership. And on the lonely slopes of Mount Tur, he received the greatest honor a human being could ever receive. Allah spoke to him. But if you think this was the greatest moment of Musa's life, the story has only just begun, because everything you've seen so far was preparation. The real challenge still lies ahead. A prophet armed with nothing but a wooden staff will now walk into the palace of the most powerful ruler on earth. A ruler who claims to be a god. Will Pharaoh surrender when he witnesses the signs of Allah? What will happen when the greatest magicians in Egypt face a miracle that no magic can imitate? How will an entire sea become a path for the believers? And how will one of the mightiest empires in history collapse before a man who places all his trust in Allah? Those answers await us in the next chapter of one of the most extraordinary stories ever revealed. If you're passionate about authentic Islamic stories, then subscribe to Faithverse and make sure you turn on notifications, because part 2 is where one of the greatest confrontations in history begins. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.